Hello and welcome to Beyond the Boundary. My name is Vinay. I have a very, very special guest with me, so we're going to get straight into it. He is the captain of the Sandringham Dragons in the TAC Cup. He is a vital contributor to Vic Metro in the Under-18 Carnival. He is a potential top 10 draftee, and he's just an all-round great bloke. Angus Brayshaw, welcome, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Vinay. It's pump my tyres up there, but that's it's a big honour to be here. Thanks for the invite. I'm looking forward to it.
No worries, mate. Pleasure's all mine. Now, Angus, a question that has confused me for several years, and every year I ask myself the same question. How do you cope with the pressure? So every year, all these elite youngsters are being touted as top 10 draft picks and stars and legends, and then the next Chris Judds, the next Gary Ablett's. How have you handled that pressure, mate?
I think, obviously getting the balance is pretty important. I think, obviously, footy's a big part of, the guys who are so touted, that big part of their lives, and if it consumes all of you, then I think that's when the pressure starts mounting on you, because I think if you have an outlet, there's something else you can be good at, then it sort of takes the pressure off to perform well in football all the time. So I think that's something for me. I had school last year, but this year I've got a bit of uni, and I like to go out and have a hit of golf every now and then as well. So it would be different for everyone, but I think just having something else to go to, it's refreshing, and it helps keep you focused on footy.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned that you do go to uni. Now, you're one of the very few footballers I know that has elected to do one of the most difficult double degrees. Now, you do a Bachelor of Commerce and Engineering here at Monash, and now that's not the easiest degree, but you're obviously a very smart bloke. But what inclined you to take such a difficult academic path along with your footy?
I don't know, I guess through the involvement I've had with AFL clubs so far, very fortunate through the AS and Vic Metro to have met a few recruits and stuff. They're really big on, especially at AFL clubs, having something outside of footy that you can go to. So obviously we don't want you to play 10 years of footy, then retire, and then you've got nothing else. So there's a big focus on having something that you can turn to after footy. I think in Year 12 I did a lot of sciences. In Year 11 I did commerce subjects, so I think it was just a logical choice for me to choose. It's a pretty broad degree. It keeps my options open, and if things don't work out with footy, I've got a uni degree to go back to. So I think that was just knowing what I knew from the AFL perspective, wanting to have guys do more than one thing. That was something I just sort of wanted to get done, and I'm smart enough to do uni, so I just thought it was a logical thing to do.
Yeah, fair enough. In my opinion, I think you're making all the right steps to have a successful career in footy so far. And obviously, you're captaining the Sandringham Dragons, and the word leadership is thrown around a lot. We need a leader to lead the team, and when the team's struggling, you need a good leader. What are the duties you've had as the captain of the Sandy Dragons, especially being young?
Yeah, sure.
What are the kind of responsibilities and things that you've had?
I think it's interesting, especially at Sandy, the situation's probably unique to other clubs, besides maybe Oakley, who throughout the year we have all our APS boys taken away from us, and we've got 70 boys on our list, and 61 of them have played a game already. So lots of change, lots of guys coming in and out of the squad, sort of thing. So I think the biggest part for the leadership group as a whole is probably to sort of find some sort of continuity in all of that, and be sort of like a calming influence on the group. Obviously, with changes coming in, there'll be different blokes coming in, but if we can sort of make everyone feel comfortable and play their roles, then we'll still get competitive performances. So I think just keeping the group together, sort of uniting everyone, making everyone feel a part of the group still, while maybe we've got guys doing their own things from time to time, but I think that's it always been for Sandy in particular, because of where we're located, and it's a challenge we continue to deal with. We've got a big influx of private boys come back this week, so it's different week to week. It's a different challenge from week to week, and it's something we have to deal with constantly. So that's probably the main one. Yeah,
fair enough. So obviously you've been heavily involved in Vic Metro's campaign in the Under-18 Carnival, and you've been playing really well. You had 25 disposals, I think, against South Australia. And what do you think how have you found it so far in comparison to your time at Sandy? And what do you think have been your biggest challenges?
I think, I don't know, against SAT Cup, I play against most of these guys. They're the best from other teams around the league. So I think, first of all, the biggest challenge is sort of seeing them as your teammates, less as your competitors who you be competing against. It's been good so far. I mean, we would have liked to have won a few more games. We lost both to Country, which probably should have at least half that. So that's probably been a bit disappointing in that sense. But we're playing good footy at the moment. Everyone's, I've just cut the squad to 25, and everyone sort of knows what's going on now for the last couple of games. So you're looking forward to a couple of good games against WA and South Australia. So it's all going well, and hopefully I can keep finding the footy a bit.
Yeah, fair enough, definitely. We have so far. And for those of you wondering, Angus is the nephew of the esteemed James Brayshaw. I keep getting that question over and over again. Yeah. Has he tried to lure you down to North Melbourne? Has he offered a bit of bait to get you down there?
Well, see, James, he's the president, and I think that just extends to board matters. I don't think he has too much influence over the footy department and their operations. So, obviously the connection's there, but he hasn't tried anything yet. But he won't. I don't think he will, at least anytime soon.
We'll wait and see. Yeah. So obviously, you're a man that wants to constantly keep improving. You've got a very solid attitude in that regard, and that's why you've been rewarded with the leadership. What are some of the things that you felt have been your strengths? I've heard a lot about your inside ball capacity, and I've seen it firsthand. Yeah, sure. What do you think some of your weaknesses as well?
I think last year was a bad year for me in the sense of injuries. I broke my arm in the first practice game of the pre-season last year, so I think when I did come back and play, I was probably underdone, and that was a big focus for me in the pre-season, was just getting some fitness and speed as well. So I worked pretty hard on that stuff, and just to get my general athleticism up, and also I probably think more with that goes hand in hand a bit more with my outside game. Yep. So with the fitness and the speed, I was probably able to get out a bit more and get some uncontested footy, which is they go hand in hand, but I've been sort of working on them both to improve. I like playing on the inside, obviously, but just getting a more all-rounded game is probably just that was the focus in the pre-season.
Yeah, for sure. Who do you model yourself on? Because every year we have draftees being likened to a player that is similar to them, and phantom drafts have already hit the internet, and people are saying you're like Andrew Swallow, or you're like because of your inside ball capacity, as you mentioned, you're tackling. But who do you actually try to model yourself on, and who do you look up to as a player?
Well, as I said, I never used to be quick. So I think for a long time I sort of looked at guys like Sam Mitchell who go inside and impact the game without sort of spreading and winning all that outside footy. But more this year, I think obviously still looking at Sam Mitchell, he's a great player, but guys like Scott Pendlebury and Joel Selwood and Trent Cotchin, those sort of guys because I'm trying to develop that outside aspect so I can sort of be both in and outside. Yeah. So looking at guys like those who can do it so well and do it well every week and consistently at the highest level. Yeah. Guys who I want to sort of aspire to be like, they're the guys I sort of look at. So
yeah, no, definitely. So obviously you play with a large group of people. Like you've got Sandringham Dragons, which you mentioned. There are plenty of people coming in and out every week. Then you've got Vic Metro, which I'd assume also a fair number of people. Who are some other players, do you think, that you found it really challenging that you've come up against? You thought, gee, that kid's good. Yeah. And who else do you think everyone should look out for?
From Sandy, Sean McLaren's really come up as a strong fullback, and he'll be one to look out for. He'll probably take the key forward from the opposition team most weeks. Christian Machucka's probably one you've all heard of. He's just a competitive freak, and at his size, he's a nightmare to handle. Like obviously firsthand playing for Sandy, he's tough to play against. And then obviously playing with him at Metro, you see how much better it is playing with him on your team. Pete Rice, it's always good having the biggest bloke on the ground on your team, and he's so fit and athletic and mobile and dominant all around the ground. So he's another one that I'm sure you've all heard these names, but they're just ones who have really impressed on me. So
yeah, sure. Well, it's definitely good getting confirmation for someone that actually plays with you. So now you've seen your fair share of injury, despite being young. You've had a broken arm, and you've also had a sliced thumb. Now, that is not the most common injury. Can you tell us?
Certainly not. So I was as always, it was a Wednesday morning. I was in a rush to get to school, get out the door, because I was slept in a little bit, and was in my bathroom, and Mum was rushing me out to get out the door, and I was like, yeah, right, I'm coming. And as I was walking out, the striker guard on the door where the door sort of inserts into, a little bit was sticking out, and I smacked my thumb on that, and I had 4 stitches in that, which was, it was just my luck. It was that sort of year last year in that sense. So it was good to get it out of the way then, I guess, and sort of I've been all right this year injury wise. So look, it's probably unlucky to happen, but I'd rather it happen last year than this year. So it's all behind me now. But yeah, it was unlucky, definitely.
Well, definitely, it sounds very unlucky. But so obviously, injury management's really important. All the top players are able to, even when they get injured, they're able to fix themselves up pretty quickly.
Yep.
And you've had a chance to have a go at that a couple of times so far, and you did work with Alistair Clarkson earlier, and how was that experience? You know, like working with the top level of fitness professionals. How did that differ to Vic Metro? Was it the same? How did you value that experience?
I guess it was the same in the sense that the guys at Vic Metro, I guess the guys everywhere are sort of gearing you towards being able to sort of, you know, be in an AFL club and not, you know, and do well in an AFL club sort of thing. So it wasn't too much different from all the stuff that I'd sort of been previously exposed to. But I think just getting it from an AFL club really sort of, you know, hammered home that like what I'm doing outside is sort of actually, you know, it's, you know, preparing me for that sort of thing. So working with Clarko was good, obviously. Any opportunity to work with a guy like him and a club like Hawthorn, any club at all for that matter, is one that any guy would take with both hands. And I think the stuff he gave me, so I did a bit of running with him, and I got some injury prevention stuff, some core work from their fitness guy, and that sort of stuff. I think it's held me in good stead because obviously I haven't been injured too much this year. And exactly. Touch wood. I've been a bit fit. I've been able to cover the ground, and probably a big part of that is due to what those guys did with me. So I'm very appreciative of that. And look, it's probably, you know, sort of, I know, giving me an insight into what will happen next year if hopefully I get drafted. So.
Yeah, for sure. So with Melbourne, you've also trained with them earlier last year, I think it was.
Early in January.
Okay, so this year. How did you find that? You know, like that's got to be sort of a dream, training with an AFL football club so early. I can already see you've got the big grin on your face.
Nah, definitely. It was. Well, I guess obviously it is everyone's dream, so it was incredible in that sense. But I think it's just the step up in like, the intensity of training. I think from Sandy's like a good standard, but then like from Sandy to AFL club, the gap is like astronomical. Yeah. So I think just adjusting that was it was tough, and it would be tough. But you know, it was a really good experience for me to have. Also, I spent a full week there, so I basically lived the life of an AFL player for a week, and you know, sort of got an insight into how taxing and full on it is, and how committed you have to be to it, which is you know, another great insight, and it's just really reaffirmed to me that this is sort of what I want to do. So it was great, and very fortunate to have been given the opportunity, and very thankful as well.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I am somewhat acquainted with the Brayshaw family.
Yeah.
I studied with your brother. I played cricket with you, and I took your younger brother for cricket. I coached him. So, but the one thing that I never understood, your brother Will always used to call you Tronny.
Yeah.
And every time he said it, I used to go to him and say, "Why do you call him Tronny?"
Yeah.
And he used to say, "Because he's Tronny."
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that confused me and frustrated me a little bit. Is there any reasoning behind it? And do you have any nicknames at Vic Metro or anything like that?
There's a few nicknames that I wouldn't be able to sort of say on camera, but Tronny. Look, I live in a house with 3 brothers. I'm one of 4, so obviously a bit of inter-brother banter is going to be happening, and I think that was just one of those ones that didn't make too much sense, but stuck, and it was a while ago, so I've got no idea how it happened, but it's, you know, it hasn't gone. Will still calls me. No one else really does. My other 2 brothers don't, but Will likes to drop it every now and then. So
fair enough.
Can't do too much about it. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you know, this is a pretty generic question. Everyone gets asked it, but I think it's one of the most important. What is the major goal that you've set for yourself? You know, we always want to set one and then try and do our best to reach it. Yeah, What's your number one goal?
Well, obviously, number one goal is to get drafted, but I think it's been important for me, especially. I'm sure for other guys as well. It's all well and good to have that one big goal, but there's obviously got to be steps that you achieve along the way to help that, you know, be achieved, like small steps, smaller goals, and obviously getting drafted is the big one, but sort of staying injury free is another one that obviously from last year was pretty important. Obviously just trying to go out week to week and play good footy is another one, you know, just stuff like that to sort of enable me to achieve at the end my ultimate goal. So yeah, obviously the big goal is to get drafted, but not just taking it one step at a time at the moment, just taking each week as it comes. A couple of cliches there for you, but it's just the way it is, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. One other thing that I was really interested about, so obviously every year more and more, you know, kids get drafted. Is there anyone from last year's draft? Obviously you went to school with Nathan Freeman, you played with him as well. Is there anyone that you sort of saw and you're like, you know, now you think that's sort of the path I want to take, I want to work like he did and I want to end up like he is now?
I think Christian Salem's probably one for me because I was able to spend the week with him at Melbourne, who really, you know, I just saw him, came to the club at Melbourne, obviously saw the way he was going about it, and he unfortunately was a bit sick earlier in the year, but, you know, his attitude, the way he goes about it, I guess we're probably similar players. Like, he's, you know, he can do both inside and out, which is probably something I want to aspire to be, so, you know, him in particular, the way he's gone about it, it's probably, you know, really stood out for me, and obviously being able to play with him at Sandy, then spend a week in an AFL club and actually see the transition he's made, has, you know, really, you know, motivated me a bit to sort of get there this time next year. So, yeah, he's a good guy as well. So,
yeah, definitely. Well, Angus, thank you so much for joining me, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Obviously, I wish you the best of luck for your future goals, whether they're academic or sporting. I hope you succeed in all of that, and I hope that you do end up making it big in the AFL, so I can watch you on TV and wobble my head and say, I know that kid, he's an absolute gun. So, thank you so much for joining us, Angus.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
No worries, mate. Thank you so much for joining us on Beyond the Boundary. Make sure you subscribe, and obviously hope you enjoyed the interview. I also just want to say keep an eye out for Beyond the Boundary. The episodes are up on Tuesday. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Vinay.